This one's wife. Same old Meghan. Always lying. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Those of you who are football fans, soccer to our transatlantic cousins, may be familiar with the chant that's often directed at Arsenal. Same old Arsenal, always cheating. Same old Arsenal, always cheating. Well, this could be bastardised and applied to this one's wife. Same old Meghan, always lying. Same old Meghan, always lying. How so? Well, as a narcissist, she has a somewhat tenuous relationship with what the majority truth, as understood by everybody else, is. This is because, as an unaware narcissist, her modus operandi with regard to what she sees is that she will utilise the truth as you understand it to be, often a half-truth, and commonly nowhere near the truth. This is because her lies are her truth, that seen through the distortion field of her narcissism, she sees the world differently to the way that everybody else does. Certain things she sees in a similar fashion. For instance, what she recognises as a tree, she will describe it in the same way that you would describe a tree. But commonly when it comes to things that occur in respect of her, the truth alters. Remember, she talks about my truth. This isn't an acknowledgement by her that her truth is manufactured, but rather the suggestion that the truth that everybody else speaks about her is manufactured. Hers is the truth. My truth is the truth. What you say about me isn't the truth. This, of course, is the haughty arrogance of the narcissist, her superior attitude coming to the fore, and representative of the fact that the way that the narcissism operates is to cause her to see things through a particular lens which supports the pursuit of the prime aims. And this commonly means revising history and believing that to be what actually occurred, twisting things to believe that that's actually how it occurred, and to use lies as a truth, but not realising that she is telling lies. I know that many people find it rather difficult to get their head around the fact that the narcissist will tell lies and not realise they are telling lies. But I often provide the example of whereby if you were to take a bump on your head, so you're no longer able to see the colour yellow and it presents as green to you, and if somebody is trying to convince you that their car is canary yellow or banana yellow and all you can see it is as green, you're not suddenly going to go, oh yes, it's yellow, isn't it? Because you can see that it is green, so you will maintain that it is green. But everybody else sees it as yellow because there is something that is causing you to see yellow as green. Your perception has been altered. And it's the same for the narcissist. This one's wife does not stand there saying, this is what happened, but I know it to be untrue. She genuinely believes that it happened the way that she describes it, because that's what the narcissism does. And we have another instance of this, courtesy of a PR puff piece. Have a listen to this. Unsurprisingly, it comes from Hello, which is back in ass-kissing, brown-nosing mode, as Emily Nash and Rebecca Lewis, yes, it takes two of them to report on this. The Duchess of Sussex returned to Europe for the first time since 2022 to take her seat at the Balenciaga show at Paris Fashion Week. This one's wife, who had previously teased her arrival in the French capital with an Instagram story overlaid with French track Viens en Assez by Vité and Julien Doré, was there in support of Pierpaolo Piccioli, who recently assumed the role of creative director for the house. A spokesman for this one's wife tells, Hello. We're then told that over the years she's worn a number of designs by Pierpaolo. They've worked closely together, collaborating on design for key moments on the world stage. Have they? I don't ever recall this. Potentially a revision of history. She has long admired his craftsmanship, sounds like another revision of history, and modern elegance, and tonight was no different, said the spokesman. This evening reflects the culmination of many years of artistry and friendship reflected in her support for his new creative chapter at Balenciaga. Nothing to do with the fact that the Under Siege Balenciaga, as a consequence of the paedophilia and BDSM controversy of 3 years ago. See parts passing, where I talked about the Balenciaga disgrace, is basically trying to scrape the barrel to get any celebrities it can to be associated with its house. Nothing to do with that. It's all to do with the fact that there's been clearly a collaboration that's been going on for years. Yeah, if you say so. It then talks about a collaboration from when she was in Morocco. Blah, blah, yada, yada, yada. We're then told where she stayed at the $3,000 a night Hotel Plaza Athénée, and there were crowds of photographers outside waiting for her to emerge. She made her way to the show in a sleek car with blacked-out windows, and inside the show there were gasps from the crowds as she arrived with security. She later changed outfits into a gorgeous black dress. Gorgeous has been spelt incorrectly. They've not proofread it. And with an asymmetrical neckline for Balenciaga after party. It goes on about the fact that she wore a stunning outfit from the new collection, that she was joined by Marcus Anderson, that they sat alongside Tracy Ellis Ross, and they were spotted greeting Anna Wintour and Baz Luhrmann. Other people who were in attendance but clearly didn't speak to her are also described. It references when she was last in Europe. So far, so much puff piece and potential revision of history. And then we get this gem. This one's wife arrived back at the hotel, where she overheard a photographer telling her she was shining like a diamond. Yeah, sure that happened. Absolute bullshit. Same old Meghan, always lying. I suppose this is akin to the moment that a member of the cast for The Lion King sidled up to her, mouth agog with awe, and declared, "When you got married, we were dancing in the streets in South Africa in the way that we were when Nelson Mandela was freed." Once again, the fantastic mind, and I mean that in terms of fantasies, not that it's brilliant, of this one's wife conjures up what she wants people to say about her. This, again, demonstrates the deluded nature of this woman. I've told you before that she essentially walks around with a soundtrack playing in her head because she's the main character, narcissist that she is. And you can imagine her press releases telling people, "She made her way to the show in a sleek car with blacked-out windows, and inside the show there were gasps from the crowds as she arrived with security." Probably went on to state, "All the men had erections as they were dying to penetrate her, and even the women became moist at the sight of the beautiful Duchess." This is the kind of Mills and Boon nonsense that this absolute deluded narcissist comes out with. And she has to get it in the PR puff piece release that's sent to Hello to command the supine publication to include this blatant lie. She overheard a photographer telling her she was shining like a diamond. No, that'll be the little voice in your head, this one's wife, that tells you that you're amazing and you're brilliant. No photographer said it. The photographer's too busy shouting, "Meghan, Meghan," to try and get pictures. And they're not going, "Oh, mademoiselle, you are shining like a diamond." Ha! What a fucking clown this woman is. But it's no surprise, because she is a deluded liar. And I thought I would include this because it's very much on the button when it comes to the behaviour of this one's wife, that she can't help but not only engage in telling these porky pies, sometimes an outright porky pie, sometimes a twist on the truth. For instance, it was me that caused Procter & Gamble to change. Well, in actual fact, it was a class project, so it was a half-truth. And again, here she is. She can't help herself but have it dropped into the article that a photographer told her she was shining like a diamond. She actually looked greasy. She looked like she was shining as if somebody had thrown grease over her. I know that her crying makeup friend said, or paid hanger-on, said that she had got the ceramic look. That she'd been going for a sort of glass skin and then now a ceramic look, which presumably, given the fact that she was clad from neck to toe or neck to ankle rather, in white meant presumably the ceramic look was that she was looking like a toilet. Yeah, be about right, I suppose. Full of crap. Well, there we are. Another example of the lies of this one's wife generated by the delusion of her narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.